I snatched my phone from him and got up as if I was being chased by Satan himself, and I rushed out. Ben followed me. "I'd like to see you again," he said as I got into the car. "I don't want to see you ever again," I screamed at him. I tried to shut the door, but he held it open. I looked at him. For one as young as I felt he was a study in calmness. My reaction didn't bother him. "You have my number. I saved it as Helen, Houston Uni. I have yours too. I'll wait for you to call though." I couldn't believe my ears. No wonder he asked my school, and I told him without thinking. Didn't he say he'd never done this before? He lied. He'd done it before. He'd done it again and again. Otherwise, how would he know the perfect way to save his number on a married woman's phone? "Don't hold your breath, because I'll never, ever call you." He gave me that cocky smile of his in answer. My real name is... I blocked my ears and started screaming. He clammed up and said no more. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to know his name. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I didn't go to my mother's place. One look at me and she'd know right away that there was something awfully wrong. I also feared that in her usual way of asking and asking until you opened up and told her what the matter was, she'd pry the truth out of me if I went there. I headed back to the island, but I didn't go home. I couldn't go home. The smell of man still clung to me. I found a place to park my car and walked to Muri Okolala Park. I walked the length and breadth of the park, willing myself to forget what I'd done. All my years of abstinence fizzled into thin air. I shouldn't even have bothered. 2 hours or more later, I still didn't feel any better with myself. If anything, I felt worse. On top of the guilt I felt for cheating on my husband, I was now terrified. Terrified I'd probably picked up some sexually transmitted disease. You see, in the heat of it all, I didn't remember to ask man to use any form of protection. What was I, daft? I'd exposed myself and my husband. Yes, my husband to God knows what manner of STD. It wasn't until toward evening that I found the courage to head on home. Mercifully, for whatever reason, traffic had built up in my axis of town, so my return home was delayed some more, thankfully. I slumped into the couch as soon as I walked through the door and went online immediately. I Googled what to do after unprotected sex to prevent STD. I opened one of the open and perused what it offered. As short as the list was, it looked overwhelming. From taking emergency contraceptive pills, to testing for AIDS, STD, and HIV, to post-exposure prophylaxis, PEP. The last thing on the list nearly made me laugh. Keep calm and watch for symptoms, it said. How possible was that? I was still seated there, thinking over my stupidity when Edmund came home. I instantly forgot my fear of STD and went back to feeling guilty. I greeted him without looking at him, fearful he might glean the truth from my eyes. I had no defense for what I'd done. No excuse would be enough. I was an unfaithful wife, an adulterer, period. I got up and headed in the direction of the kitchen. "Come back here and sit down," he said in that commanding tone he used when he feels he has something really important to say. What did he want to say to me? I wasn't in the mood for any of his sermons. He asked me to sit again. "I'll stand." He sat down and breathed in rather dramatically. "I know you think I'm heartless for depriving you of sex, but the only reason I'm not indulging your every urge is so you'd learn to control yourself." I forgot my guilt and gaped at him. I felt like telling him on the top of my lungs that I controlled myself for 29 years. And because I was saving myself from my husband, for him. But there was no point whatsoever to this conversation. The harm was already done. He asked if I understood him. I told him it didn't matter whether I understood or not, and very nearly blurted out that his tactics didn't work. If anything, it drove me into the bed of a complete stranger. However, I've also realized that is not enough to keep you in check, because quite frankly, you're nothing short of a maniac, a sex maniac. The only cure to keep you from being aroused 24/7 is to have you circumcised. "You want me circumcised?" I asked him, not quite believing he said that. "Yorubas do it right before marriage." "You're not Yoruba, I know, but what does it matter? It will serve the same purpose. Curb your raging libido." For the first time since my sinful act, I smiled. I let the smile spread across my face. Then I started to laugh. It was my husband's turn to stare at me. I could see the confusion on his face. I'm sure he was wondering what was so amusing. Even I didn't know why I was so amused either. Perhaps it was because the very one who caused me to go out in search of what he deprived me of was the one suggesting a solution when it was already too late. Ah, what a day. Served him so very right. Yes, let him lie beside me with the smell and imprint of man. Another man all over me. Man, I like calling him that. I like that I didn't know his name. It added a sense of mystery to the whole thing. Tonight, the three of us will be in our matrimonial bed. My husband on one side, man and I on the other, in one body.